Okay. Substance Painter. So the first thing we need to do in Substance Painter, some of you guys already might have encountered Substance Painter. Basically, the Substance Painter is just a smart way of texturing using smart materials and using different masks, smart masks. But we'll just talk about these in a few minutes. So we need to go File and New. Okay, so File and New, and depending on where you want to export this, for example, I want to export this to Unreal Engine 4. Yeah, so I change this to Unreal Engine 4. That's my template. And Unreal Engine 4 uses metallic roughness. That's PBR, physically based rendering metallic roughness. Okay, and that's specular gloss. That's a different way, but most of the stuff today they use metallic roughness. I think Unity is using spec gloss, but anyway, Unreal Engine 4, select, and we just need to find the low poly one. Yeah, remember on this stage we need to find the low poly hammer for Substance Painter. Open, and the document resolution we're going to keep it at 2K for now. We don't need to auto unwrap because and we don't need to import the cameras, so I just remove these two and I'll click OK. So in here you can see that we get two different on the viewport we have one on the right and one on the left. And we can navigate with Alt and middle mouse click, Alt and right click, and Alt and left click. I think it's yeah, similar to Maya. And so that's on the left side, and on the right side we get the actually I think we forgot to do something. Yeah, it's a very important thing. We forgot to pack the UVs. So right now our UVs are on top of each other. But let's see what's happening. Let's see what is happening if I just start to paint. Right now I have on the right side we have layers like Photoshop, so we can paint on different layers. And on the bottom you see there's a brush which has size, flow, and some jitters, and alpha map all, and color. You get color and a bunch of other stuff. So let's just change the color to something like red and paint here. So we're just going to paint. You can increase and decrease the size of your brush. I think you can use the brackets, yeah, the square brackets, or you can use control and right click, and control right click up and down to I think it's gonna increase the flow. Let's see. No, it's not the flow. I don't even know what this is. It's like the softness of some sort. And control and right click and left to increase or decrease. So let's just try and paint on this one. So I try to paint on something, and I'm not sure what I'm painting on. Everything is being painted in the same time. I say, hey, wow, why is this happening? This happening because the UVs are overlapping. So we have UVs on top of each other, and Substance Painter doesn't know which one is which, and so we get this mess, right? And it's a good thing that we haven't done that. So now let's just go back to Maya, and we're gonna select everything. And this is maybe like kind of like a tricky part where you have to decide how many textures do you want your object or objects to have. In certain situations you might have a hero asset which will have 3, maybe 4, I don't know, 2K textures. Yeah, that's a lot, I know, but for cinematics it can be possible. So we need to consider how many textures does our object have. For in our case we only want 1, but I'm going to have another version with 2. so you can see the difference and how you can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna select everything, open this UV editor, and you see there's a bunch of UV shells in here. And what we need to do here is to arrange. Yeah, we need to arrange them. So the last step, this is the last step. First I'm gonna do an orient, and that's gonna arrange everything nicely, neatly, and now rotate them basically. And then I want to use this layout, but if I shift and click on the layout, it's gonna open this options, right? I think there must be a way to go here in the layout, but I think it's kind of takes too much time to find it, so I'll just use this shift click. Yeah, so layout UV options. In here what we need to do is to change a few things, and I'm going to increase the packing resolution to maximum. So this is basically the algorithm is going to have this resolution to pack them neatly. Yeah, so basically the more you have, the more time is going to, the time requirements is going to go up. If you go down, it's going to do it faster, but maybe a worse job then. So I get this to maximum. Then I use this preserve 3D ratios. So preserve 3D ratios is gonna keep every shell in ratio to the other one. So they're gonna have the right ratio. For example, in certain cases, you might want to have more texture resolution on this part. And if you want that, we need to make these parts, these UV shells, we need to scale them bigger. So if you scale them bigger, they're going to have more texture. Yeah. So let's just select all of them. And again, shift click on the layout. So if we preserve 3D ratios, even though I scale these up, these will be scaled down according to the other ones. You know what I mean? It's going to kind of average them, and they're going to be similar. If I use preserve UV ratios, on the other hand, it's going to scale them according to the scales that they have currently. So these ones, they're going to keep the ratio between this one and the smaller bits that they haven't been scaled, or the other way around. You see where this is going. For now, I don't care about that. I just want to preserve the 3D ratios. Most of the time you're going to use that. But sometimes when you have a face, for example, or a character, you want the face to have more resolution, and you make the face bigger, and so you go preserve UV ratios. Yeah, or maybe the face is going to have its own texture. So you won't need to do this preserve UV ratios. But I hope this is clear. If you guys don't understand this concept, let me know. We can come back to it. Then the layout settings, I use this 2K, and you really need to put this padding here. So this padding it means you're gonna have some space between the shells. So the shells, in order for them not to touch each other, if they touch each other, they're gonna you can possibly bleed the texture. Yeah, when you paint, the texture can touch another UV shell, and you don't want that. So that's why we need some distance between the shells, each UV shell. And this is a 2K, and I use 8 pixels between the shells and 8 pixels between the lines, from the line to the shell. Yeah, from these lines, 0 to 1. Okay, and let's just click apply now. Okay, so now it put them all nicely, neatly in here, and they're not overlapping. As you can see, they're not overlapping. They're just, if I press this button here, you can see they're all nice and blue. If we overlap some of these, I think it might show. I'm not sure, it doesn't show. overlapping or not. Maybe there's a way to show overlapping. But anyway, but you can see it is like slightly darker where they're being overlapped. They have a different color, yeah. So just Control Z a couple of times. Okay, and it's moving both of them because I have this enabled, world symmetry enabled, and now we can, you know, move them individually. These are the UV shells that we cut. Great. So now that they're all nicely packed, we can select them all and export selection and hammer for Substance Painter and override that one. Yeah, replace yes. So that's for only one texture. How about if we want this handle to have more texture and we want the handle to, you know, have its own space? For example, hey, I want this to be a hero asset and I want this to have a lot of texture, but because of that I need the rest of these to be on a different bit, you know what I mean? So yeah, we can do that. We select the parts that we want them, you know, packed nicely together, and we're going to give them a new material. So right click, assign new material. So we first select them, then we just click on one of these materials, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to assign it a color so I know that it's like a different material, right? So now there are two different materials. One of them is called UV'd, and I'm going to rename this one to hammer, and this one I use shift to invert the selection, actually without this one as well, and this one is going to be called hammer handle underscore bits. Okay, great. So but then now the problem is that we still, so I select these one where they have the same color, but I see there's a lot of empty space now. You can see there's a lot of empty space being left from the other packing that we did, right? Sorry about this. I didn't want it to do that. So we need to pack it again. So let's just select the UV shells, and again shift click on layout. Everything is set. We don't have to do anything else. Then apply. So what happened now? These got bigger. You see there's bigger, but we still got some space. This is bad. Most of the time we want to use all the space, so we can put some smaller, smaller bits in here. But for the sake of speed, let's keep on going. So that is one, and now we want to do the same one with these ones. Yeah, with the green ones. We said that we want these to be different. Control 1 twice, and we select the UV shells. Again, layout, and they're bigger. Yeah. In a future discussion, we're going to talk about something which is called textile density. Yeah, textile density, and that is called a pixel per unit. Yeah, or pixel per centimeter, or but not right now. That is a slightly more advanced topic we're going to discuss in the future. So now that we've done it, so basically if we select them both now, they're overlapping. Yeah, if I press Control 1, they're overlapping, but they have different materials. Yeah, so that's one material and they're not overlapping, and that's another material and they're not overlapping. The important thing to remember from here is that the materials, Substance Painter identifies the textures as materials, right? So one texture material, one material with one texture space, or how it's called, layout space. Yeah, it's going to be in the 0 to 1 space here, and this one the same. Okay, I hope it's clear. I cannot make this more clear than this. So file, export selection. And we go back to substance, and we need to do another one. And okay. So now you see we got 2 of them. We have here on the right side, there's one called hammer and handle bits. So you can see that. Now when we try to paint on something, it just works nicely. And the hammer. Okay. So sometimes you might not have the high poly from ZBrush like we did, and that's fine. You don't need to every time to have that. So I'm gonna press on this button and change 3D only. I'm not really gonna use this UV space as much, so just change to 3D only. Okay, so now, as I said, we need to do something called baking, and baking is useful for a number of reasons. And baking can be found in texture set settings, so not in layers. There's another tab here called texture set settings, and this baking is going to be it's going to extract some maps from the geometry, and it's going to tell Substance Painter where exactly are the occluded spaces, or like these spaces in here, and where exactly are the spaces which are the edges, you know, the outer edges. Okay, and this is for, you know, among others. Okay, so bake mesh maps, and we press on this button. I'm going to change the output to 2048, and these are going to be the mesh maps which we're going to bake. So now it says here high definition meshes. If you don't have a high definition mesh in ZBrush sculpted or anything, you can use low poly mesh as high poly mesh, yeah, and it's going to do the baking as well. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to look different way, but you're still going to extract some of those helping maps, like the ambient occlusion and the curvature, which is going to show where the edges are, yeah. So these are the ones that are we're interested in, and maybe even thickness if you want to have like something more complex, like subsurface scattering, like for the skin and stuff, but you know, that's another topic. So as I said, you can just click on this and then just bake, but we have our own. So we go here and we find the decimated hammer of justice. So that's remember, that's the one that we had at 1 million polygons. Yeah, we reduced the number by decimating it, some parts, we left some other unchanged. So I'm going to use this one and click on open. Okay, and these ones are the ones that actually are the ones that the parameters, they're called max front distance and max rear distance. These ones are the values or the parameters that we need to increase or decrease in order to get, you know, better results in the baking. Okay, so normally I would get some anti-aliasing for subsampling of 4 or 8, but in this case, for the time of speed, for the sake of speed, we're just gonna leave it unchanged. Okay, I don't change anything right now. Okay, bake selected textures. And oh yeah, here I forgot to mention we have the selection and there's hammer and handle bits, which means it's going to try and bake both of these materials. Yeah, the hammer, the main bit, the handle and the bits. So let's just go back here and bake selected textures. And you can see what's happening here. It's going quite fast. And voila. Now we have the baking done. Unfortunately, I think I subdivided this one or something happened with this one and we didn't get very good results, but the normal map looks quite okay. We got some problems in here which we can address if we go back to ZBrush and you know, fix those, but overall I think it's good. Yeah, overall I think it's good. I just use shift and right click to move the light around. Okay, so now if we just go oh yeah, I just wanted to show you the wireframe. So I think the wireframe is here. Yeah, so in here, display settings, I just go to last and show mesh wireframe, and you can see the wireframe, it's the same. Yeah, it didn't change. The only thing is just looks like these are the normals which tell the light that hey, this is a bump. So the normal map, it's only used for small bumps. You don't, you know, we don't change the topology geometry like crazy, like hey, something like, let me use the move tool, BMV, and we're not going to do something like this, yeah, with the normal map. That's too much. It's gonna bake, but it's probably not gonna do a good job. So okay, I'm gonna remove this mesh wireframe. You saw that our object is unchanged. It's still the same object, but looks more smooth, and you know, with all the details and everything that we did there. It's not a pretty job, but you know, we get the point how it works. So yeah, I think we're one. I think it's 1 o'clock. Please come back because this is the very important bit. Don't, you know, come back in 1 hour because the texturing is very important, I think, and you wouldn't want to miss that. I'm still going to record it, so it's fine, but please come back because if you have any questions, you know, I can answer them, and you know, we can do more exploration afterwards. I'm going to leave it like this. In the next one, we're going to touch the, you know, the basic construction, how it works, basic construction blocks in Substance Painter. You guys have any questions so far? Let me know or message me. And I'll just stop the live, but at 2 o'clock sharp I'll be back and we can continue from where we left doing the texturing. It's gonna be good.
Cool, thank you, Lucian.
Okay,
that's great.
Yeah, see you.
Thanks, Lucian.
Thanks, Lucian.
No worries, man.
Okay, I'll come back.
Okay, let's stop this.